Coming up on this episode of Outlook TV, Icesis Couture's music video.
In Montreal with Mr. Tracy.
Story Story Lie with Fulltime Toddy. And much, much more. Hello and welcome to Outlook TV. I'm Rebecca Wyman.
And I'm Victor. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and surrounding nations for the privilege to film this episode on their unceded traditional lands.
Outlook TV is the queer news magazine show that brings you all the stories that matter the most from coast to coast. And we're going to kick it off in Vancouver tonight with the Olivier Salvas show.
Yes, the art fashion was flamboyant.
I love some flamboyance.
We are with Olivier Salva at Being Around the World in Vancouver for the first of his monthly Happy Art Hours. Olivier is going to tell us about his exhibition Flamboyant and his art fashion project.
This is my exhibition called Flamboyant. So Flamboyant is a wordplay, basically. It's a reappropriation of the term flamboyant. So when I started working, I've had people telling me, oh, it's okay for you to be gay, but please don't be so flamboyant. So this is kind of like a full circle of reclaiming the word and telling my stories. When I was 19 and I was in art school in Montreal, and back then I was actually painting on jackets. Like I was super inspired by underground culture. I was meeting drag queens and queer artists on the Montreal scene. And I was in art school and I was in love with like the Keith Earrings and the Basquiat. And I just thought, I was like, you know what, how about I kind of tell my story and like 20 years later. So art fashion is an art statement. So that's how I decided to paint all of those jackets that inspired by my collection. And I was like, okay, how can I take this a notch up? And I met Charlie's Charm through the Flamingo Market. And we stayed in touch and I was looking at her stuff like, this is pretty sharp. So I was like, I contacted them. I was like, how do you feel about partnering up where you launch a line inspired by my jackets? So this is what they've made. They've hand painted them in the style of the jackets. And most of the proceeds that we have from this evening will go to support homeless to LGBTQ plus youth. Education and art are very interconnected for me. For the longest time, I struggled with my identity as a teacher and as an artist. I felt the pressure that I could not be in the public eye as an artist because I was a public school teacher and there was a lot of boundaries around that. I did my master's degree in media education when that's where I discovered orthography. And that's how I was like, you know what? I could merge both of art and education. If you don't know, orthography is showcasing educational research through art making. If you're interested in art fashion, you can go on my website and there is some blazers that are there that are available. But what people love the most is to actually have their own blazers being redesigned for them. Or sometimes they say, hey, Ollie, I don't have a blazer. And then I go and get one and I design one for them. So on my website, there is a form that people can fill and they tell me the size that they want, the color that they want, and specific instruction. And then they can or have their own art fashion and they can accessorize them with all of Charlie's Charms' creations. And again, partial proceeds of those sales also will go towards to us LGBTQIA plus homeless youth in the city.
This is Sister Vicky reporting for Outlook TV at Being Around the World in Vancouver.
We're going to head over to Vancouver's Rio Theatre where they had Story Story Lie in front of a live audience.
I hear Fulltime Toddy was there.
Oh, so much fun.
Hey folks, we're here at the famed Rio Theatre in Vancouver and we're going to catch another episode of Story Story Lie. It's going to be really fun and let's go in and find out who's the big liar.
This evening we've got Ola Dada from Blackout Comedy. We've got Fulltime Toddy from Calling Mother. So Story Story Lie is a storytelling game show. Most shows get competitive and what they do is they reward excellence. Story Story Lie, we reward deception. So we have 5 performers on. We try to get diversity as far as age, gender, accents, origin, get some queerness in there for sure. And one of them is lying, everyone else is telling a true story, but it seems like it's not true. There's way too many oddities in it. And the audience gets to ask questions and text in who they think the liar is, and that's the premise of Story Story Lies. It's an interactive storytelling show. We really try to get people to tell stories that are like super confessional oddities, things they wouldn't normally tell people. And yeah, it's so much fun. It's a really lovely evening.
Do you ever think of me when you lie?
Keep moving, keep moving. One of the things that I have to do, and this is what I do for a living as an MC and a host, although Joe's the main host, is my job is to get the audience warmed up so they know what to expect. So I have to set up the room so that all the performers who are coming out go, we're coming into a warm house. This is a loving house. So sometimes that's really easy and sometimes that's not easy. Like if they've come from a rainy day or a bad day, then you have to go, okay, be here for these people. So that's the main job that I have, is to warm up the crowd.
And thousands of grasshoppers pile onto the sheet. And we fold it up, we drown them, and then we fry it in duck fat. And that was dinner!
When You Call Me Mother has opened up a lot of stuff. I think more than anything, it's just given me the confidence to pursue this as a full-time career. I had a lot of projects on the back burner that are now on full boil, and we're just going, we're steamrolling ahead. I mean, opera came first. And then through opera, I started doing stand-up comedy because I hated my degree. And I got tired of stand-up having rules, and so I started drag as just a way to do everything. Yeah, I'd call myself a drag thing, and I still do stand-up comedy. And the reason I switched my name to Toddy is just so that I could have a name that I could do drag in, stand-up comedy. I'm releasing music soon. I am full-time Toddy, and Toddy does everything.
Let your go for the Uncle Ray way. You're gonna tie some wire, and you're gonna put it over a hole, and you're gonna each have either end of it, and when the gopher comes out,
I like to think I'm very good at storytelling, or I just like the sound of my own voice.
Let's see who the liar is! Tony's the liar, but he gives Tony a big round of applause.
Well, I guess we figured out who the liar is. This has been John Crossan at the Rio Theatre in Vancouver.
We're going to have to take a little break now.
We can powder our noses.
Why am I shiny?
Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Tracy. I'm a singer-songwriter, producer, and voice coach. And you are watching Outlook TV.
De l'amour, à mon tour, je l'enfile sans retour.
Welcome back. You're watching Outlook TV.
Well, the next story is all about women. Rebecca?
I cannot lie to the stars that made me.
Hello, 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 my lovely viewers. Today, Outlook TV is here at the Frank Theatre in East Vancouver, where they previously recorded the audio play, I Cannot Lie to the Stars That Made Me, original story by Catherine Hernandez. So please put your phones on silent and follow me.
The central theme, I would say, is about a woman's journey going through difficult times in her life, but finding refuge or liberation through the community of other women of color. So the piece is really about storytelling, holding a space for each other, and Catherine Hernandez does a beautiful job of bringing witnesses, teachers, and these other characters into the stories that can be the women that we are in contact with every day, our ancestors, or perhaps the next generation. And all these people are the space holders, those that they make the space for one to be able to go through life and find liberation. One of the things that I recognized when we did it as rehearsals, like as business as usual with theater, I was like, oh, we don't need to do blocking, for example. Today just went by and we covered a lot, and I'm not as stressed. So that was something that I was constantly telling the performers. I'm like, By this time, I'm usually really stressed, and I'm not stressed because we don't need to block. I don't need to think about set design, costume design. But we wanted to have the theater rehearsal the way that we usually do in order to focus on text analysis, character development, the relationship between characters, and to really extract the kind of emotional potency that exists in the theatrical work that perhaps is different from voiceover or audio work. So we really wanted to kind of honor that the piece is a theatrical piece.
I want to tell the universe that
I really appreciated that this story was about like a queer woman and exploring, the complexity of being a femme of color, and that it takes place and is based in characters from low-income communities and queer women surviving, which I can really connect to, having grown up in a low-income community in East Van and having known a lot of people like that, with that resilience and that strength. And so, yeah, I felt very connected to that. It was interesting to see the things that were similar and different from a regular rehearsal process, and the whole recording process aspect of it was a whole new thing. So in a way, it was easier because there was no blocking, and so the rehearsal process was kind of simpler in that way. But the recording process was a whole new skill set for me as I work primarily as a stage actor. So learning to just sit in a box and speak into a microphone was a whole other thing.
Let the stars that made me know they have made a goddess.
We have our digital season coming up, Maps of Utopia, next year, which will be a monodrama film series, as well as our Telling a Bent, which is our most recent work with the youth that is coming up in May.
Wow, this story truly highlights the importance of community, especially in today's world. I'm Emily Ann Fraser. You're watching Outlook TV Vancouver.
We're going to head over to Montreal now and check out Mr. Tracy.
Songwriter, singer, musician, and all-around sensation.
Well, hello Outlook TV, it's me, Ollie. So one of my highlights of the last holiday season was to just be at home, buy my Christmas tree, and listen to Mr. Tracy's latest album, C'est Noël. So I figured that all of you need to know who Mr. Tracy is. So I called him up, and here he is, on
C'est
Zoom.
Noël de l'amour, à mon tour je l'enfile sans retour.
This year I decided that I want to do a real Christmas album, but this time it's not going to be a joke. I want it to be a real album. So I released C'est Noël, which means it's Christmas in French, and it's a French and English album. It has some original songs, including a Christmas song, of course, but also a new song in French called C'est Noël. And so C'est Noël was my first long album, if I can say that. It has 7 songs. So C'est Noël is also a dream. If you've watched the video, it starts as a dream. And it's someone who's, playing video games, but it's kind of like a Mario thing where you're like, aiming the coins and, going from one level to the other, and then you suddenly wake up. I really played a lot with the back vocals. Of course, I record my own back vocals. And so when people ask me, oh, who are these girls singing? Well, that's me. So and I find it funny when they say, oh, okay, well. So it's a lot of fun recording the songs because I really like to play with the characters. When you watch my videos on YouTube or on Facebook or on Instagram, you see that I play all the characters, which is, if you want to go into it, it's kind of like a drag performance without being a drag queen. It's more like a drag because I'm dressing up in all those characters and doing a bunch of things. Although my costumes are pretty basic, sometimes I just put a scarf and that's it, I'm a new character. So I did play a lot on this with the vocals when I recorded C'est Noël. What has become of me? So Dreamers was officially the first release that I do out to the public. I've been writing since I was a kid, but I never released anything because I was so involved in the classical world. We're all dreamers. I am a dreamer. I've always been a dreamer. Dreamers is a message of hope, prosperity, but also it's kind of like a conscious movement. Like, why are we here? When I say maybe we'll come back someday to this land, it means like let us think about what we're doing here and let us make the most of it while we're here. If I can make people laugh or smile, then I can die peacefully, and I always say that.
Mr. Tracy's albums are available on all streaming platforms. For Outlook TV, this is Ollie in Montreal.
We're going to have to take another break now.
Good, it's hot in here. These lights.
It's not the lights, it's my hot flash. Welcome back. You're watching Outlook TV.
T was recently in Toronto for the Singing Out concert.
It's time to make spirits bright, and we are catching up with the singers of Singing Out, an LGBT choir based in Toronto. They're here to talk to us about their new production in person called A Light Ahead. Here are the singers.
The name of the show is called A Light Ahead, which is very fitting because we've been in lockdown for a couple of years, and we've been working virtually together, and so things have changed in a good way because we were able to start rehearsing together in person in September with a few variations of how we got together. So we sort of split the choir into two different groups and had lower capacity, and we just made creative decisions to make sure that we could get ourselves to the concert tonight. And so it's been a fairly seamless transition, which I'm just thrilled about. So yeah, we're pretty excited about tonight.
Singing Out has been around for 30 years. Next year is our 30th anniversary from when it was first created, and I think one of the biggest things that represents Singing Out is a resilience. We were one of the few choirs in Canada that didn't stop throughout the pandemic. We went virtual, we learned along the way, but we created the space for the community. We knew that music and choir was important for everyone.
I sang when I was a kid and then kind of just stopped and sang in the car, sang in the shower, but that was it. And then a friend of mine posted on Facebook that he was in the choir, and I thought, oh, I should try. And I knew that it was non-auditioned, which was a real big motivator for me because I didn't want to audition and, get nervous and have to show somebody and have somebody judge my singing. So it was great. I went there the first day. I felt like I fit in pretty much right away.
A lot of folks in the choir where we come from different places. I'm originally from Mexico. I moved in 2018 with my husband to create a new life. And one of the first things we wanted to do was integrate ourselves into the society and get friends, right? And we always loved singing. Music has been a part of our history, and so we decided to take that and use it as a way to meet people, and it was the best experience ever. People have now become family.
Always loved singing. I've been in choir since I was in public school, so grade school. I took a bit of a break and I moved into band, so I played the clarinet for a while, but then missed singing so much, so I came back to it.
So I moved to Toronto in the middle of the pandemic with my wife to be closer to my family, and that has been a really good choice overall, but it was a little bit lonely at first. And so joining the choir has been great because it's really allowed me to form a community in Toronto at a time when everyone has been so separated through the pandemic, and it's just been wonderful to sort of get it back out there, get out singing and meet everybody. It's like a wonderful, welcoming group. We need more sopranos and more altos, so come join. And also if you're any vocal part, it's great, and you don't have to audition, so it's really nice because anyone can just show up and sing if they love to sing.
Thank you, singers. My name is T for Outlook TV in Toronto.
You got to check out Icesis Couture's new video, Tell Me Everything.
La Pusetta is a definite must for your summer playlist.
Ooh.
Hola Chicas, winner of Canada's Drag Race Season 2, has a new music video, La Pusetta. I spoke with Icesis Couture and producer Velvet Code recently on Zoom.
Hola chicas, yo soy la Pusetta. ¿Tú quieres bailar conmigo?
La Pusetta is a song that I co-wrote with Velvet, myself, and my drag daughter, who's also my brother. And it's basically just like a summer anthem that we let out in the middle of winter. It is a fun song. It literally has no meaning. It is just, you know, a typical like drag song, but like with my own spin. And it was so fun to create this song with me and Velvet. It has been an absolute pleasure to get to pretend like I'm a pop star. It's very interesting and it's very fun. This song in the Latin community has been received so well. I've had so many of my Latin brothers and sisters message me and being like, oh my God, you're the first El Salvadorian queen to win. And then on top of it, you release a song right after, and they all feel like the song is for them.
Yes. Miss Icesis, dang.
Drag Race was obviously absolutely amazing because I won. But the whole experience, it was challenging. It was amazing. But as soon as I left Drag Race, this saying La Pusetta, though it didn't get to be shown as much on the show as it did, behind the scenes, like all the judges were saying it, all the contestants were saying it, they still say it. So as soon as I left, I decided that I wanted to create it into a song, and Drag Race really like put La Pusetta in my head.
When I received the call from Icesis to work on her track, I was floored. I didn't know what to think at first, but I composed myself and said, okay, this is a good opportunity for you to hit the world stage with potentially the winner of Drag Race at some point. Being in the studio with Icesis was a delight. Hard worker, came prepared, knew the lyrics, so, you know, the timing and delivery were amazing. You know, all the work that we needed to do in the, after we recorded was much easier because of the experience in the studio. And Icesis came fully prepared. You know, working on the EP with Icesis is exciting right now. We're going through a lot of different styles and kind of listening to the fans to figure out what the fans want, because ultimately that's what it's about. What do Icesis fans want to hear next?
La Pusetta is definitely on my summer playlist. This is Sister Vicky for Outlook TV from our studio in Vancouver.
That's all the time we have for this episode of Outlook TV, but we'll be back before, well, probably the next variant of COVID comes out.
Follow us on social media, and if you'd like to volunteer for Outlook TV, send us an email.
Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Rebecca Wyman.
I'm Victor.
Stay safe, Canada.